why the very strengths that make you an effective leader can become the source of your burnout. Are you doing this because helping others develop is your way of avoiding your own growth edges, developing team members' ability to solve problems together, and their ability to help each other, not just come to you for solutions? You became a leader to create impact, develop others, drive change, but every person you lift up seems to drain your energy. Does that sound right to you? How do you build organizational capacity without depleting your own? Welcome to the Hard Skills. I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, and today we're talking about the leadership paradox, why the very strengths that make you an effective leader can become the source of your burnout. This is part 3 of my bonus 4-part burnout series. Now, here's the leadership capacity paradox. Many leaders, especially women, were socialized from childhood to be caretakers, to notice when others are struggling, to smooth over conflict, to put others' needs first. And these skills made you incredibly effective at developing people and building teams, at least the kind of leaders that are people leaders, right? They're really good at developing people and building teams. And they were really good all along and rewarded for that kind of skill set, right? But strategic leadership requires a different skill set, making tough decisions that can sometimes disappoint people, holding boundaries even when it creates tension, prioritizing long-term impact over immediate emotional comfort. And so folks who have this leadership style where they are people leaders with strong people skills who notice when people are struggling and want to smooth over conflict and put others' needs first are also challenged with the shadow side of that strength. It is harder to make tough decisions when those decisions can disappoint people, or hold boundaries when it creates tension, or prioritize certain things when it makes people uncomfortable. So the paradox for that leadership style is that your caretaking instincts, which make you a great people developer, can directly conflict with your strategic leadership responsibilities. So let me give you some examples of what I call emotional labor in leadership, the invisible work that gendered socialization creates. So if you're a woman in leadership, or if you are this people leader kind of style, right? You're the one who remembers team members' personal situations and checks in when they're struggling. You're the one who mediates between team members who can't get along. You're the one who notices when someone's been quiet in meetings, and then you follow up privately to include them or check in on them. You're the one who softens difficult messages before delivering them, who spends extra time helping someone process feedback, who stays late to support a team member through a personal crisis. Now, maybe this comes easily to you, or maybe it actually isn't what you want to be doing, but you feel like you should, or that it's expected, or that people will be disappointed if you don't. None of this was written out in your job description, by the way. None of it gets measured in performance reviews, but it's often the difference between a team that functions well and one that falls apart. And it becomes exhausting and overwhelming, at least for some of us. Now, this brings us to some important reflections. And be honest with yourself. This is me with the tough love again, okay? Are you doing this, A, because helping others develop is your way of avoiding your own growth edges? B, because it feels good to be needed? C, more out of obligation than desire? Or D, because offering emotional support to coach people up feels safer than having difficult conversations about performance? Oof. If it's any of these reasons, it might be time to really examine whether it continues to serve you. But if you are doing it instead because it comes naturally to you and you derive a lot of energy from it, you can't imagine not doing it, and it would be inauthentic not to do it, then it's no longer emotional labor as much as your natural leadership style. You just then have to look at the shadow side of overdoing the things that you love so much if it keeps you from being strategic. Okay, so this leads us to the difference between being the system versus building the system. When you are the system, organizational capacity depends on your constant emotional input. Teams function because you're managing relationships, you're catching problems, you're providing support. But if you go on vacation, things start to fall apart. When you're building healthy systems, however, you're creating organizational capacity that doesn't depend on you being the sole emotional hub. It means developing team members' ability to solve problems together and their ability to help each other, not just come to you for solutions. So, for example, instead of being the mediator every time there's conflict, you teach conflict resolution skills and create processes for team members to work through issues directly. Instead of being the emotional support person for everybody, you help create peer support networks and normalize seeking help from multiple sources. So here's what building systems looks like in practice. 1, you can create regular team review and improve meetings. Sometimes they're called retrospectives, where people bring up and solve problems collectively rather than bringing everything to you one-on-one. Number 2, you can establish accountability and peer consultation partnerships so that development isn't dependent on your time alone. Number 3, you can implement shared decision-making processes or a list of specific areas with a delegation of authority for those areas that you want to empower team members to decide so that you're not the bottleneck for every single choice or decision. Number 4, you can create cross-functional communication channels so that information doesn't have to flow through you. There are many, many ways to do this. The goal isn't, though, to stop caring about your people. It's to care about them in a way that builds their capacity and empowers them instead of creating dependency on yours. And this requires rewiring some deep conditioning about what good leadership looks like. But it's essential for sustainable impact, both for you and for your organization. And it models how leaders can be supportive without being constantly available. Do you need some additional help with this? No problem. I have a workshop for that, the Anti-Burnout Leadership Lab. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is designing your leadership approach for sustainable impact, creating team strength that multiplies rather than depletes your energy. Because the organization needs you thinking strategically, not just managing everyone's emotional needs. Registration for the Anti-Burnout Leadership Lab closes September 29th. You can find out more at gotowerscope.com/2025 fellowship. This will be in the show notes as well. This is for leaders in industries that don't get the luxury of stable, predictable environments where the work matters too much to do it badly and you matter too much to burn out doing it. The question isn't whether you care about your people. The question is, are you caring for them in a way that builds their capacity or creates dependency on yours? Is that something you really can afford to continue? If not, this program is probably for you. I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, and this is The Hard Skills.